Hello, I'm Chad Thomas, and I'm here to discuss some spoilers and make some discussion about WandaVision Episode 8. Yes! I have finally, done this within a time span that is appropriate, so there will be spoilers, lots of discussion and theories, and let's get right down to it because these videos have become very lengthy. It is 1693, and Agatha Harkness is being dragged along by people in robes, and it's in Salem, Massachusetts, so you're figuring it's the Salem witch trial, and could very well be. However, tables are turned, and it's her own coven that has come and brought her here because she has found power that is far beyond her pay grade, and is dark. And, so she kind of sits there and begs and pleads and, I just want to learn, and, so as the ceremony continues, it's clear that, she does have some intention of causing harm. So, the witches emit, energy into her, that is to hopefully rein her back, and it's painful for her, but eventually she pushes back with her own magic, and it kind of drains the energies out of her coven. And then the character that she calls Mother, which could be her actual mother or just the head witch of the coven, basically says, this is too much for you, I can't allow this to go on, and that kind of thing. And so she says, boom, here you go, here's my power, I have to defeat you so you can't cause any harm. And while she does this, she emits sort of a blue glow of a headdress on her head, and I think it's going to come into play a little bit later with Wanda. So Agatha fights back and defeats the Mother, and steals the brooch that we're all now used to seeing on Agnes/Agatha. So we cut to the present time where Agatha has Wanda caught up in her basement, and Wanda tries to use her powers to fight back, and Agatha explains that, no, sorry sister, I'm the one that created the spell around the runes here, and so I'm the only witch that gets to perform magic here. So she basically goes on to explain that she wants to know how and why everything in Westview has happened, and it again is that information obsession that she has. So one way or another, she's, gonna get it out of her. Wanda, of course, is reluctant. Agatha bashes her about a little bit, and eventually realizes that the only way that this is gonna happen is if she gives Wanda a cause. So off in the distance, you hear the twins asking Mom for help. So that is enough for Wanda to say, okay, you know what, I'll play this little game with you, let's go. And Agatha's like, this is a great time to watch reruns or something like that. It was kind of a clever line. So Agatha takes a piece of Wanda's hair, imbues it with magic, and a door presents itself, and Agatha basically says, the best way for your future is to go back. So Wanda reluctantly goes toward the first door, and it opens up on the small apartment that she and her family had in Sokovia. And her mom's there, Pietro's there as, you know, a little boy. Dad shows up. Stepdad? That is to be determined, for the most part. And he sells American sitcoms on the street for money to help manage things, you know, food, roof over the head, that kind of thing. So they're in hard times. But Wanda loves these American sitcoms. And so she was just like, oh, can we watch some before you sell them? And so they sit down to a lovely family gathering, and then boom, a bomb hits. And from what we know of the backstory of the twins is that, you know, there was a bomb that blew into their house. It killed their parents, and there was a second one that arrived, and it seemed to be a dud. Well, this dud is actually because of Wanda. She kind of reaches out like she's going to use her powers. You don't actually see her use those powers, but it's kind of obvious. So Wanda was the reason that that bomb didn't go off. So then, the next magical door goes to Hydra, where she was volunteering to fight the movement and whatnot. And Hydra had the Tesseract within Loki's scepter. The Tesseract also housed the Mind Stone. So they were like, well, you know, let's try it on her, see if it happens. It's killed everybody else. What's one more, you know, kind of thing. So Wanda walks in, and somehow or another, the Tesseract, you know, releases itself from Loki's scepter, and kind of floats toward Wanda. And Wanda kind of goes to reach out to it, and then all of a sudden, there's just a flash of yellow. And it's all consuming, and in front of her, she can see herself as she would be in the future. And you kind of can tell from the visage that, you know, she's got her trademark headdress on and an actual costume. So from there, she faints, and they come rushing to her aid, but she's still alive. So they lock her up, you know, they let her watch, you know, some sitcoms, The Brady Bunch, and that's pretty fun and juicy. So after that, the next door takes her to the Avengers compound, where she is there, and she is grieving over the death of Pietro, her twin brother that got gunned down during the Age of Ultron. And Vision walks in and sits next to her, and they have a really nice conversation, like a really awesome conversation that actually there's a line that he says that I need to jot down because I'm having a lot of grief over the death of my grandmother 2 months ago. So I found that very powerful. So you could see where that was kind of like the beginning of their relationship. We didn't really get to see a whole lot of that during the films. So that was kind of like a nice little snippet to actually really watch and kind of see how they formed their bond. So there's one more door that she has to go through, and it's Sword headquarters, and Wanda goes there to basically see Vision for the last time. She's polite, she's not threatening, as she is given permission with Director Hayward calling up to the front desk saying, yeah, go ahead and let her through. So Wanda's like, okay, here I go. And front desk guy's like, no, we gotta buzz you in. She's like, I've got that handled. So she gets down to Hayward's office, and he basically says, you know, hey, how you doing? I know what you're here for. I just want to let you know that we're taking good care of him. If you would like to see him one last time, Wanda's like, I'm next of kin. I want to have him. And Wayward was like, well, it's really not kind of possible. And he kind of directs her over this overhead view of a lab that basically has Vision torn apart. And in certain ways, the mechanics of it kind of seem like they're pulling them apart in a gory kind of way. As, you know, circuits are broken, and it was a weird, interesting scene. And one of them was just like, I just want to bring him home to me. And Wayward was like, you know, we're not about to let $300 million of vibranium just get thrown in the dirt. You can see him one last time. Wanda gets frustrated. I forget which line that Wayward says that kind of pushes her over the edge. But she breaks the glass, flies down to the center of the laboratory, and, you know, naturally guns are put on her and whatnot, and Hayward tells him to stand down, and she walks over to Vision's disembodied head, and she uses her powers like she does to connect with him via the Mind Stone, or the Soul Stone. I can't remember which one it is. And basically breaks down because she can't feel him. She just can't feel him. And so she comes to that realization, and she leaves. She gets in her car, and as she's pulling away, there's this envelope that is on her front seat. So she's driving, and she's driving along, and she ends up driving through Westview, and she's kind of looking around things and seeing where everything's at, and she comes to a point where in the letter, it was property that was purchased by Vision and Wanda, that she basically could use to grow old in. In fact, you know, that was written on the deed in a heart with the signature of V. So she thinks about it, and I mean, it's just bare. It's like barely a foundation. She walks right into the center of it, and all of a sudden her grief just takes over her, and boom, like F&A. This house is built, and then all of a sudden, you know, magic shoots out of the windows, and the town is changed into a 1950s style, and it's like no matter what, Wanda is just going overboard, and it was just great. And then as everything is settled, another version of her powers seemed to seep out, which I believe is part of the Mind Stone, Soul Stone that she touched, because that was such a part of Vision. And she recreates him, and he's this is where it's gonna get kind of interesting. So everything's in black and white except for her, and then in one shot she walks in and she's black and white, and Vision says, "Welcome home, Wanda." And so they sit down on the sofa and they have a kiss, and as they break apart, there's Wanda watching them in, absolute color. So it cuts to a studio, and Wanda's there in her current outfit, and you see the studio lights, and up in the audience's bleachers or whatever, Agatha's like, "Bravo!" And then she disappears. So Wanda is left there to sit there and think about what has actually transpired, and she has things to think about because we know now that things always, I don't want to say have always not been the same, but we weren't given certain perspectives or truths. So Wanda, all of a sudden, she hears Billy and Tommy just yelling for help. And so, Wanda flies out there, and she sees Agatha in the air, having magical leashes on both Billy and Tommy, and they're just like, "Mom, help us, help us, help us." And Wanda's kind of stunned, and Agatha is just like, "I've been wanting information about how you did all of this, and I've tried to learn through other people's eyes and things like that, and it has come to me that you are an extraordinary witch. You wield chaos magic. You are the Scarlet Witch." Yay, she's got the name. And that's where pretty much everything ends as far as the episode. We don't see anything from Monica. We don't see anything from Vision. We do, I'll get to that in a minute. I do want to mention a few little things that I think are interesting to talk about. Now, there's been a lot of theories that instead of introducing mutants, we have witches. Now, if any of you are not familiar with the Marvel comic book lore, Wanda and Pietro were actually mutants. And at the time that they were introduced in the MCU, they couldn't be called mutants because Fox had the right of every mutant. So there was a deal in there, and which is why it was so confusing that the Fox version of Quicksilver showed up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's now all together again, so this is where a lot of confusion is put in. So, so a lot of theory is that Wanda isn't going to be a mutant after all. That she's just going to be a Nexus being, possibly. I still think it's left open that she can be a mutant. And I certainly think there's room to still build that in. We have one episode left, technically. Rumors are there's going to be a last, episode after that, but so what other little theories? There's also something going on with Senior Scratchy, the rabbit that Agatha has. Normally she's sporting a cat, a black cat, as, typical witches do. Cliche. So that was kind of interesting. So I think there's still something going on with Senior Scratchy. There's obviously still something going on with Pietro. And we're still gonna have to figure out where Vision is in trying to get to Wanda and see what happens there. So there is an end credit sequence, and it's set over in the Sword headquarters just outside the Hex. And Hayward is like, okay, let's go. Let's go ready to launch this. They have the drone that Wanda stepped out of the Hex and returned to them, which was imbued with her power, and they hook it up to this machine, and this machine actually contains a visage of Vision, and slightly different. So, you know, it's kind of left in your head as to whether it's actually Vision or if it's Ultron. And that's, you know, a decent possibility. So yeah, that's kind of where things lead up. The fake Vision just kind of, you know, looks at his hand, as well as when Wanda gave birth to Vision in the Hex, you know, he kind of did the same thing. So that is that. Ugh. A very thoughtful episode, a very well done episode. It's leaving still some more questions than answers. I hope that they can wrap it all up by the next episode, if not by the surprise after episode. And then I'm going to be devastatingly sad that the show is over, because lots of feels, lots of love, and I am just impressed with how wonderfully the show has been created. So, with all that being said, I probably should have covered some other things, but this video is already getting long, and I'm tired of doing long videos because they take longer to process and upload. So yeah. So thank you all so much for watching. Leave some comments down below as far as what you think. I know there's lots of spoilers out there. If you know something is a spoiler, don't leave it, please. I would hate that for somebody, for myself to stumble on. I've heard theories, but not spoilers, and I would hate for somebody to watch this and see a comment and know that this is going to happen and ruin the show for them. So thank you very much. Like, comment, subscribe, dislike, share with your friends, do all that wonderful, great stuff. We love you all. Love and light to you all.